welcome to my channel where learning art is fun. I'm Sarah and today I'm going to show you how I draw the monster family using pastels and the tortillons we made on Tuesday's quick tips video. So if you're ready, let's go! So here's a sneaky peek at how it turned out, and I was quite pleased with it in the end, but there were a few problems along the way which I'll talk about later on in the video. I'll also include a list of the materials I used in the description box, but don't worry if you haven't got the same products as me, since the tips and techniques in this video can be applied to whatever soft pastels you have. So I started out with a faint pencil drawing on my paper and decided to use a black colour pencil to mark in the small details of the eyes and Frank's glasses. Colour pencils don't smudge like the pastels and you can get a really nice sharp point. So then I went in starting on the left hand side of my page with the stick pastels, and these were really good because you can apply them directly from the stick for the larger areas, or like I'm doing here, you can put some of the pastel onto a separate piece of paper and use the tortillons to apply smaller amounts and use them that way as well. So another way that you can apply them, and this is particularly good for really small areas, is to put the tortillon directly onto the stick and pick up some of the pastel and then put it onto your drawing. So this was really useful just to put in Emma's lips here. So they really are quite versatile, and notice as well that I started off on the left hand side of the drawing with a piece of kitchen roll under my hand, and that was to minimise smudging and that kind of thing, because that's one of the downsides of pastel, but you can kind of get around that and it isn't a problem if you know what to do and how to prevent it. So one of the things that I did have a problem with this drawing was to do with the paper, and you'll notice that I'm using the tan paper that I used, I think, when I was drawing Peter Rabbit with colour pencils, and it was really lovely for that. They really laid down nicely, blended nicely, and I like the effect with the white next to the tan because it really sort of stands out and looks really effective. And I've used the tone grey paper before when using pastels, but I haven't used the soft pastels on this tan paper, and I didn't realise that there was a difference, and there really is, because this tone tan paper is a lot smoother. And I'm just showing you now how you can clean your tortillons using a little piece of sandpaper, and that's really good to do in between colours so that you don't transfer any colour that you don't want, and you can keep your drawing nice and clean. But back to the paper, yeah, it's got a really smooth texture, and when you're using soft pastels you kind of have to use the same sort of paper as I mentioned when doing the charcoal drawing of Maximus and the quick tips video on charcoal, because it's a similar sort of material, and you do need the paper to have more of a texture, more of a sort of a rough surface to kind of grab onto that pastel. And being that this tan paper was a lot smoother, I did find that it was quite hard to lay down that pastel and for it to stay where it was put. So when applying the tortillon to blend the pastel, it kind of took off a lot of the colour, and this wasn't really a problem in the long run because it just meant that I could apply more layers. But I think if I was to do another pastel piece I wouldn't use this paper, so that's something to bear in mind. If you were looking in the list of materials I used, I wouldn't recommend using this for pastels in the future. I think I'm drawing Frank now, and I think this was my favourite character because I really like the sort of the bright colours. And another good thing about pastels is that you can blend them to get the colour you want. So you can either blend them actually on your drawing, or you can blend them on a separate piece of paper and use that like a palette to get the colour that you want. So you haven't always got to have a whole range of colours in order to get the colour that you want. And another thing to mention when using pastels or any media really is that when you're looking at shadows is that You don't always use a dark, sort of like a black or a grey for the shadowed areas, because there are quite a lot of shadowed areas in this drawing. You can just use a darker version of the colour that you've got. But I do really like the versatility of pastels, and when you've got the right paper, they are really, really nice to use. This picture also makes me laugh quite a lot because the names of the characters in the movie are very similar to my own family, because we've got a character called Emma, who's the mum, and I've got a daughter called Emma. I've also got a son called Max, and my daughter Jessica's middle name is Faye, so I've kind of got my own little monster family going on. My husband isn't called Frank and he's not green, but that's about as close as I think you might get. So back to the drawing anyway. I do really like the pastels to create really nice shadows and really vibrant shades as well. One thing that you might want to do though, as we're nearing the end of the piece, is to consider things like fixative, because especially on this paper I was a bit worried that the drawing would smudge. So I do have a spray fixative and I will list that in the description box below. And the last thing I did was just to go around to pick out some highlights with my white pencil crayon, and this drawing was done. Well, that's all for today, architects. I hope you enjoyed learning how to draw the monster family using pastels. If you have, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all next week for more arty fun. Bye!